And turn off normal maps. Always turn off normal maps. Holy shit. Always turn off normal maps. That's more for me than for maybe other people, but normal maps just fuck me in the ass, so I turn them off. Now, what is a good size? That is always the question. I'm thinking pretty fucking small. Maybe about 1%. See how that looks. Ooh, wow. That actually looks a little too big for what I was expecting. Sorry, dude. We might have to make it even smaller. Yeah. 0.5% of normal size is right where he's at about now. So that looks about right from the camera. Um, let's see. So then we just need to make sure his feet are actually touching a surface and not just floating like they are now. There we go. And same deal with him that we did with Sabrina. Just kind of find a base pose to start with. Maybe something where his legs are, kind of spread out like he's standing at some kind of attention. Ugh, that looks terrible. It's workable. I take it back. The only problem with like figures that are this small is that they're sometimes hard to work with because like you can only zoom in so far and then they just disappear like this. So it's like if it's a really complex kind of pose, I like to keep them regular size first and then make them smaller when that's done. But this shouldn't require too much of that. I don't think we'll need to go to 0.2%. Um, I don't think so. This should be fine. I mean, that's about what I wanted. But, I mean, we can, just for the fuck of it, we can see what that looks like. Wow, that's pretty small. Actually, this would make a pretty nice angle, too. I'll tell you what, let's compromise. How about 0.35? So you can see his little feet are kind of still sticking up through her stomach. So he's just a little bit too far down. Just increase that a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I mean, and you know, I've noticed, Swotor, that people are incredibly opinionated when it comes to like what size they should be, and I guess I am too. And I suppose that's just normal, but um, you know, somewhere around here, it gets to be to the point where that's even a little too small for me because it's like it becomes a question of, well, how the fuck would she even notice him at that size? And then I mean, that kind of kills it for me because if there's no if there's no kind of interaction or any possibility for that, it just isn't as exciting for me. But I mean, it's what everybody prefers individually. So I mean, I understand that. Suffice it to say though that this right here, that's pretty fucking small. Oh, not to get off topic or anything, but you may or may not know that I've been playing Mass Effect lately, the first one. And I've never played it before, so this is actually the first time I played it. But um, I am at the point where I am ready to just fucking quit. And I never thought I would say that because I'm enjoying it immensely, except for one thing. And that one thing is that pretty much every single side mission is just exploring barren, empty ass planets with nothing to do, with horrible driving controls, and there's just every single building or inside structure is exactly the same layout. Um, all you do is you go in, you fight enemies, you go out, and then you do it again on another planet that looks the same. Same extremely mountainous terrain with, again, not a whole lot to really do, with bad driving controls. And I'm starting to see why people say you can sink 100 hours into that game, and it's because it takes 100 fucking hours to drive around. It's not because the game is 100 hours long. And just as a disclaimer, I may be slightly more opinionated. As I mentioned earlier, I have ingested copious amounts of red wine, so that has loosened my tongue a bit. So he's not even really sitting on her stomach there. I'll just have to adjust legs a little bit. See, and then so your playthrough was what did you say? 125 hours? How much of that 125 hours were you just driving around, Amanda, doing nothing, trying to get somewhere because you can't drive over mountains very easily, and that's what takes 125 hours? Is that what you're telling me? Or am I just being a snarky asshole? That's an interesting question, Kron. I am, I guess I would say I'm equally a fan of Feet, Crush, and Vor, kind of all equally. Um, so any of those are good for me. I don't really have much of a preference, maybe a slight preference leaning towards Feet and Crushing, but um, most days it's kind of an even toss up. So, and it usually is kind of a day by day thing. I know I'm being really tedious with this little guy, but we're going to duplicate him here in a second, and the rest of this should go fairly quickly. And saving, just because I haven't done that in a while. And once we start duplicating these, things might slow down to the point of crashing, so saving is always a good idea. And yes, that's usually my preference too, Amanda. High five. That's a really unnatural looking hip. No, it's better. And now he's not touching, so we need to lower him a bit.